Good morning, students. Let us start our class with the lesson The Photograph Part 2. In our previous class, we have learned that the narrator Ruskin got one old photograph of a girl and he ran with the photograph to his grandmother. And she was knitting the scarf and she lost her counting while Ruskin jumped on the bed beside her. And she shouted at him very angrily and told him she would make him finish the scarf himself. He became very panicked. Why? Because he hated the stitching. Okay? Now let's continue our class. Granny was always threatening to teach me how to knit, which I thought was a disgraceful thing for a boy to do. It was a good deterrent for keeping me out of mischief. Once I had torn the drawing room curtains, and Granny had put a needle and thread in my hand and made me stitch the curtain together, even though I made long 2-inch stitches which had to be taken out by my mother and done again. Granny used to try him to teach the knitting and make him busy. Why? Otherwise, he would do some mischiefs. Here, threatening means frightening. Okay? And one day what happened? He had torn the drawing room curtains. Okay? And what did Granny do? She made him to stitch the curtains together. Okay? He did it very badly that his mother had to remove the stitches and she had to stitch it again properly. Here, disgraceful means shameful and deterrent means to make the child avoid doing something. In short, Granny tried to teach him the knitting work, but he did not like the knitting work. He thought that it was a disgraceful or shameful thing for a boy to do this type of work. She took the photograph from my hand and we both stared at it for quite a long time. The girl had long, loose hair and she wore a dress that nearly covered her ankles and sleeveless that reached her wrists. And there were a lot of bangles on her hands. But despite all this drapery, the girl appeared to be full of freedom and movement. She stood with her legs apart and her hands on her hips and had a wide, almost devilish smile on her face. Now what happened? Now both of them, Ruskin, our narrator, and his granny started to stare the photograph. Stare means look. Okay? And for a long time they stared at the photograph. And how was the girl? The girl had long, loose hair. Her dress covered her ankles and her sleeves reached her wrists. She had many bangles on her hand. Despite of all this, she was seen that she had full of freedom. Okay, on her face there was devilish smile also. Okay, like you can see in the picture. Whose picture is it? I asked. A little girl's, of course, said grandmother. Can you tell? Yes, but did you know the girl? Yes, I knew her, said Granny, but she was a very wicked girl and I shouldn't tell you about her, but I will tell you about the photograph. It was taken in your grandfather's house about 60 years ago, and that is the garden wall, and over the wall there was a road going to town. By showing the photograph, Ruskin asked Granny about the girl, but Granny told him that that girl was a wicked girl. Wicked means evil, okay, morally wrong. And she wouldn't tell about her but she promised him to tell about the photograph. Then what she explained again? That photograph was taken in his grandfather's house about 60 years ago. Means that photograph was 60 years back one. Okay. Then she again started to explain that there was a garden wall, and over the wall there was a road. That road was going to the town. Okay. Students, again grandmother explained many things about the photograph. Let us learn that all in our next class. Okay. Hope you have understood what I taught today. Let us end this section here. Thank you.